The news traveled quickly, and for most of us, it was news that we knew was coming, but it certainly didn't diminish the sorrow. Bob Jenkins, one of racing's iconic voices, passed away last Monday after an 8-month battle with brain cancer. His career spanned 50 years and stretched from IndyCars to NASCAR, USAC, sports car racing, and even Formula One. It didn't take long for the tributes to Bob Jenkins to pour in. Roger Penske said, and I quote, "Bob Jenkins had an incredible passion for racing, and his enthusiasm, combined with his genuine love and knowledge of the sport, endeared him to motorsports fans all over the world. His announcing career spanned almost 50 years, and to an entire generation, the sound of Bob's voice simply meant it was time to go racing." The legendary voice became the soundtrack for the month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon wrote of Jenkins, "Bob was not just a legendary voice for motorsports. He was someone who very much loved what he did and those involved in the motorsports community. I will never forget the big moments he called for so many, including me." From Mario Andretti came this tribute. "Our sport has lost a wonderful man and an iconic voice. Bob Jenkins is unforgettable. Myself and so many others have lost a dear and loyal friend." Doug Bowles, president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, may have captured the racing community's sentiments the best when he posted this open letter on social media. "I grew up a fan of all racing, but especially the Indy 500, Bowles wrote. As a kid and a young adult, just to keep up with the sport, I had to read newspaper articles and racing magazines. And then along came Bob Jenkins. His familiar IMS radio network voice transitioned to the familiar TV screen on shows like Speed Week and individual race broadcasts. And he led the transformation of the way race fans enjoyed the sport, which fueled amazing growth in the world of auto racing." Bowles continued, "But through all the successes, Bob never changed from what he truly was at heart, a race fan. His humility and ability to always remain a fan, even when he was the top racing commentator in the sport, is why race fans around the world loved watching or listening to any race called by Bob Jenkins. He, you see, was one of us. Thank you, Bob, for loving our sport so much and working so hard to tell the stories in a way that brought us all along with you. You will be missed," said Doug Bowles. "But the love of racing you've helped grow in so many will be your lasting legacy." Here's Dave First with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's tribute to one of America's premier motorsports voices.
We all know the famous call.
Coming to the finish line, Bob Jenkins, who's going to win it?
We've heard it countless times.
The checkered flag is out. Goodyear makes a move. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
Bob Jenkins helped create history that day on May 24th, 1992. Making that type of goosebump-inducing call came after years and years of working in the motorsport industry and perfecting his broadcasting craft.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins.
Bob was born in 1947 and grew up in Liberty, Indiana, and attended Indiana University. As a true Hoosier, Bob fell in love with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as a kid.
I was 12 years old. It was one of those days in which I did indeed fall in love with and have never been able to kick whatever bit me that day.
Bob's first TV appearance was for NBC, covering the inaugural kart race in March of 1979. That same year, he started with both ESPN and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway radio network when he called his first Indy 500.
Bob Jenkins, welcome to the Speedway Network.
Thank you, Paul. A pleasure to be on the world's greatest network. The cars have just passed by me on this parade lap, and it's a sight that you can see a dozen times. But every year it sends chills from head to foot.
Wait a minute. Am I really supposed to be here? I'm about to be on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway radio network and being heard by millions and millions of people around the world, and not only that, but get to witness live the greatest spectacle in racing.
His career really took off in 1983 when the long-running weekly show Speed Week first aired on ESPN.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome to our premiere Speed Week show.
He hosted Speed Week for 14 years, and they covered everything, stock cars to off-road racing.
They would send tape or that film to us. We would watch it, we would write stories, we would edit it, and we had only 4 people. So I think that says something for the people that we did hire for that show.
Along with Speed Week, Bob was also part of other dirt racing projects through the years, like the very popular show Thursday Night Thunder, which later turned into Saturday Night Thunder.
You've never seen anything like this that you're going to see tonight.
He anchored NASCAR on ESPN from 1981 to 2000. He was on hundreds of NASCAR broadcasts where he was in the booth for many iconic moments.
It's Richard Petty's final ride.
He was part of the broadcast crew for the inaugural Brickyard 400 in 1994.
Now joining us today for live coverage is the most experienced TV race caller in NASCAR, Bob Jenkins.
Hello everyone from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Bob left ESPN and continued to work in different roles for Versus, NBCSN, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, all covering IndyCar and the Indianapolis 500. He retired in 2012 from NBCSN and left TV after 34 years to help take care of his wife, Pam, who ultimately lost her battle with cancer later that year.
This will be my final year doing television motorsports.
Even though he retired from TV, Bob couldn't stay away from the Speedway and the Indy 500 for long.
I'll tell you something that makes me cry unashamedly are the moments just before the start with the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana, the playing of taps, and all the other things that go into those pre-race ceremonies.
Bob kept his role as part of the IMS public address team from 2013 through the 2020 season.
There's nothing like Bob Jenkins' voice to make a race fan feel like they're in the right spot in the month of May.
Over the years, Bob was able to do things at IMS that he'd only dreamed of back in 1960 when he first fell in love with the Speedway. He drove A.J. Foyt's 1961 winning Roadster around the track.
You just don't know what Indy means to me, and that was the ultimate experience for me.
He was invited to wave the green flag to start Carb Day in 2012.
I didn't wave it as vigorously as I probably could, but I was all caught up in the moment.
And he was even inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame in 2019.
The fact I have received the ring and the medallion and been named to the Hall of Fame is my Indy 500 win. Nothing else will ever come close to this honor.
When he was diagnosed with brain cancer at the end of 2020, Bob used a few short words to eloquently encompass everything he's accomplished as a race fan, a motorsports broadcaster, and one of the legendary voices of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I have only been a race fan who got lucky, and I think that's what I will have on my tombstone because it's true.
I had the honor of working next to Bob for most of my broadcasting career, and I wanted to share with each of you the Bob Jenkins that I knew. Bob Jenkins never owned and never drove a race car. But for more than 40 years, he shared our living rooms and our passion for the sport of auto racing. His career made him a friend to everyone. His humility and his egoless life journey inspired all of us. He was, you see, every man, someone who always made others better. Bob never sought the spotlight. In fact, he shied from it, fearing that somehow any accolades that came his way would diminish appreciation for others. From Thursday Night Thunder, where he introduced us to Jeff Gordon, to ESPN's coverage of NASCAR and IndyCar, Bob Jenkins became a trusted friend. He made others, from Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons to Scott Goodyear and Eddie Cheever, the true stars of the show. When others excelled, he would always smile. When others would fail, he offered his hand. Bob Jenkins lived a life that we all should strive to emulate. He was special.
My first year of anchoring the ABC telecast of the Indy 500 was 1999, and it was a dream come true. Being a part of the team was a goal that went back to my childhood in a little town in eastern Indiana. I remember watching the race with Jim McKay, Jackie Stewart, and others, but little did I think I would someday have the opportunity to follow in their footsteps. My producer was a no-nonsense guy who would tell me that every night he would go to bed and wake up the next morning thinking about how he could improve that year's telecast to the next year. I was so nervous and excited in 1999, but so grateful to ABC in trusting me with their coverage. And personally, I thank you so much, ABC, for allowing me that privilege. And I think I speak for millions of race fans across the world. You did a great job in those 54 years, a job very well done.
I'll miss my friend Bob Jenkins, but I know that he is with the angels, and the angels are the better for his presence.